Osho people await final results in the governorship election, a decision on whom will govern the state for a 4-year term. And there have been accusations and counter-accusations over issues relating to disenfranchisement of voters in some polling units out of the 7 that experienced election today across Osun State. Hello everyone and welcome to Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimbale at our makeshift studio at the INEC headquarters in Osogbo, the Osun State capital, where we're monitoring the final outcome of the Osun State governorship election. It's the second ballot, and hopefully we will know who will be the next governor of Osun State. It's been an interesting day, interesting history in the lives of the people of Osun State. A second ballot, a supplementary election, and there's been a lot of talks about who will be the next governor, how the process went today. It was an interesting process indeed. It all started at the early hours of the day. A lot of people did say INEC showed up at the polling unit on time. The rains also came right on time, on cue, but the voters were not deterred. They did not leave the scene. They waited until they were able to cast their vote. Let me show you on some of the areas where the elections went down today. In three areas in Ife, and 3 areas in Orolu, and a place in Osogbo, making 7 different areas across the state where the supplementary elections held today. Out of these 7 areas, about 3,000 possible votes are up for grabs. Don't forget, 3,000 possible votes, but not all of them did collect their permanent voter cards. But at the end of today, we will know who are those out of the 3,000 possible voters went to vote today, and then the determination of the election. At the last announcement by INEC and the returning officer, it was revealed that over 300 votes separated the first and the second candidate in the race, the APC and the PDP candidate. But what will become the outcome of today's exercise? So let's get talking, everyone. We are live for you at the INEC headquarters, where we are waiting the results of this election. So let me quickly show you what it is like at the Collation Center at the INEC headquarters, where the commission is telling us that they are waiting for the results to come in, and they will begin in earnest the announcement of the results from those 7 areas. Look at the room there, ready, set. Some journalists are already gathered. Party agents are already trooping in, and the stage is about getting set for the collation of the exercise. How did it all go today? You must have seen a lot on social media. Well, don't believe everything you see on social media, well, because sometimes there are fake news. But we give you the real stories because we are right on the ground in Orolu, in Osogbo, and in Ife. And Channels Television will bring you up-to-date analysis of all of those. Let's get the conversation started, everyone, shall we? Joining me tonight on the program is one of the election observers who monitored this election. He is a national coordinator of Election Monitor. Mr. Abiodun Ajijola joins us on the program. Thank you so much, Mr. Ajijola, for joining us on the program. Which of the areas did you monitor today, you and your observer groups?
Good evening. Thank you for having me. We were in all 7 polling units. But I covered 4 polling units, but we had someone in each of the 7 polling units across the 4 local governments.
Okay, so let's start by analyzing these issues. Do you have an idea of how many PVCs were collected in all these 7 polling units ahead of these elections?
Yes, I think it was about 2,500, over 2,500.
And it was supposed to be about 3,300 or 3,500 registration.
Yeah, 3,498 registered voters. But the information that we have is about over 2,500 PVCs had been collected before this exercise.
All right, so let's begin with the analysis. Let's talk about what INEC did right and what they did wrong. From your own standpoint, What are the takeaways from today's election compared to Saturday's election?
All right. I think when we look at the processes in terms of, let's say, the materials provided, we found out that materials were sufficiently provided in all the polling units we visited. We did not visit any polling units that did not have materials supplied. We also found out that card readers were working. We did not visit any polling units that had a card reader failure. We also discovered that the polling officials were well trained, even though most of them that we met were male. We also noticed that most of the polling units opened on time. So in that sense, when we talk about election day management, I think the management of the election process itself was a good one. But the big difference between today and Saturday is that Saturday was peaceful, today was not peaceful.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you mean by, so there are skirmishes or?
First of all, in the morning, observers were arrested on their way to Rolu. 2 of our observers were arrested. Additional observers from other groups, journalists, were arrested. They were taken to Ifon police station. They were not released until we were able to reach out to INEC, and INEC was able to reach out to the police.
The police arrested these people?
Yes.
And what are the reasons?
We wouldn't know. They said that they were not properly identified, and INEC gave each of the observers an ID card, right, which is provided by INEC for all accredited observers. And this is the same ID card that observers used on Saturday, which they were not harassed. But today, they were harassed for using this same ID card. They were arrested, taken to Ifon police station. Not just our observers, other observers. After that, they did not release them until INEC intervened through the police hierarchy. After releasing them, our observers were told to go home. So later on, in about an hour later, there was an intervention from INEC headquarters, which, to say that every observer should be given unfettered access to all the polling units. And we were informed that the DIG operation was also communicated to that effect to ensure that observers would be allowed to visit all polling units. So we went again to try to access Orolu local government. And this time, though we had to provide so many things, including letter of accreditation and so many things, the observers that were able to produce all those things were allowed to go in. But even at that point, when you go in, for example, in Orolu, we had 3. We had Ward 9, Unit 3, Ward 8, Unit 1, Ward 8, Unit 4. And these places are inside the bush, deep inside the bush.
We understand most of the voters in those polling units at Orolu actually live in Ifon.
Yes, and they were transported to that place for the purpose of election. So there's a place to park, and then we have to trek. In fact, in the case of Kajola polling unit, Ward 8, Unit 1, we trek almost like 30 minutes into the bush before we could trace the place. In addition, another big difference between this election and the last election is that when you talk about the party representatives, in the last election, in every polling unit, you will see at least 5, 6, 7, 8 parties. But in this case, there are some polling units you only see 2, 3, right? And it was amazing that some of the leading parties, who even were leading last weekend, were not in some of the polling units at all.
What do you think might be the reason?
We wouldn't know because we could not see them to ask them. And when we asked other party agents, they said they also don't know why they are not there. But we are just saying that these are significant contrasts. In addition, I give you at Ataoja E, the market area, Adewale Street here. Before the market, a journalist was hacked with knife and cutlass, right? They cut his head like this, and they cut his machine.
Cut his head, or the machete?
They used machete to hit his head.
Part of his head.
Yes.
Okay. So
then apart from that, bruised. Apart from that, they wanted to cut him further, and then he.
Who are these people?
We wouldn't know. Thugs.
They're thugs.
Thugs. We wouldn't know. Then they used what they call it, tripod, to protect themselves from the cutlass hitting them. And at that point, the people who had to run away. If you see their video camera cut into 2, right? Then again, and
there are pictures and images.
No, we have all the pictures. Some are even on the internet.
Dr. Akeode Afolabi is supposed to join us, and I hope that maybe we can take a moment to show you how the collation center does look like, and maybe Dr. Akeode Afolabi can walk into the studio here. We can get some other perspective onto the observer account and see what it looks like presently in the collation center. As I tell you, that Channels Television will bring you live pictures of the collation for this election for you. It will be an interesting one because some of those figures might not be as significant for you in the sense that they're not so much, but it will be very significant for this election in the sense that it will determine who then becomes the governor of Osun State. We'll bring you every detail of that election. Of course, let us tell you that it's going to be significant because in the history of Osun State, this is the first time where you will find 48 candidates that are running in this race. And so it's perhaps the highest that you will find